I've tried to write scripts for a lot of these videos, but I think it's just better if I ramble incoherently, because really I don't have the attention span to write any of these scripts and flesh them out in any sort of detail. I get like a paragraph in and I just think to myself, well, this is fucking shit. This is ass. There's no reason to continue with this. And I'm like that with everything. So, why even bother putting any effort into it? Is it just... Because the only reason... I'm not doing it for any sort of validation or attention. I mean, I have a 3 subscriber YouTube channel. I don't expect anybody to watch these videos. What I'm doing it for is for myself. I do it so I can watch these back and think to myself, oh yes, this is a good video that explains my viewpoint on the world. This is a good video that explains my viewpoint on this topic. And I think it's presented clearly, and, you know, this is the video that I would want somebody else to make, but I've made it because I want to see it happen. But I don't have the energy to make it happen. That's my issue. I don't have any energy to do anything. So I'll just talk. After a minute and a half of complaining and whining. I don't have particular topics to talk about, really, actually, during this recording. So I'll just segue into whatever I'm thinking about, which is technology. I find myself wanting to go back to an earlier time period all the time. You know, it's a constant. It depends on which time period. I sometimes lust after time periods like the 1980s, which I had never experienced, but think I would enjoy quite a lot. But more often I long for like 2008 through 2013. I would say that was a pretty good time, in the Western world at least. We had a lot of technology that made our lives easier. You could look up anything you wanted on the internet. If you were an extreme introvert and somebody who wanted to isolate themselves to the extent of Ted Kaczynski like I do, then you could still get some interaction with people, and you could still open and broaden up your mindset by talking to people online, and you wouldn't have to deal with all the foibles that come from in-person interaction and how difficult that can be. You had smartphones, you had GPS, you had MP3 players, you had TV, DVD players, and video games, and PC games. You had a lot. It was a good mix. You had a good amount of technology in there. The technology was doing what it was supposed to do in making your life easier. That's what technology is supposed to do. It's supposed to alleviate a lot of the effort that you have to put into a mechanical system or a human-based system, you know. That's not to say that there isn't technology that only exists in the year 2026 that is actually pretty good and pretty inventful. Inventful? That's not really a word, but whatever. McDonald's kiosks, for instance. I know that's a weird choice, but dude, I fucking love them. I don't have to go face to face with a worker. I can order anything I want, and I can customize it in any way that I want. I can take my time. I can think about what I really want to order. I can know how much every item is going to cost and everything. I just think the kiosk is way better. And you might argue, well, that's taking away jobs from humans, but jobs like that should be temporary. I mean, you can have the humans cooking the food. I don't want robots cooking the food, but does anybody really want to be a McDonald's cashier? You only do it if you are fucking desperate. The kiosk is just great. I like AirPods. A smartphone is handy to have. It's just humans are bad with controlling it. because it is overwhelming to have so much information at your fingertips all the time. It is distracting, and it often, well, I think it definitely has a negative impact, especially on attention span. I've kind of seen the effects of that personally myself. I don't have any attention span anymore. It kind of bewilders me. I was more patient as a child than I am now. That shouldn't be the way that it works. But what has happened is I think we're all conditioned to be like that because the world is so fast-paced, and short-form content is so easily digestible. You just get used to it. You don't have the patience to sit through anything anymore. That's one of the things I did like about TV. You had to sit through a commercial break. You know, you're watching like Dexter or whatever, and you sit through a commercial break. And whilst those commercials are going on, I mean, yeah, they're advertising products to you, and maybe some of those adverts are interesting, and you're picking up on, you know, oh, this Yop advert is great. Maybe I'll go buy some Yop next time I go to the grocery store. But I think you're mainly tuning that out, and you're just thinking to yourself while you have this like 5-minute break, oh, what's Dexter gonna do here? What's Lila gonna do there? Is the Trinity Killer gonna be on the loose or whatever? I don't know. But you understand what I mean. You just had more time to think about stuff, and you don't have time to think about stuff anymore. But what really annoys me about technology is that it isn't actually making our lives easier, it's making them worse. And that shouldn't be the way that it is, but that is the way it is. It's reducing our attention spans. It's making people stupider. Because it's simplifying things for people, and it's making things even easier. Nobody has to think, nobody has to be resourceful. Nobody even has to leave the house. You can just do whatever bullshit you need to do on your phone. There's just no need to think about anything anymore. Technology will just do it all for you. And what annoys me is that the technology doesn't even fucking work half the time. I've kind of been warming up to AI, but a lot of the time it is wrong. It's a pretty useful tool to extract information out of, but you know, you have to take it with a grain of salt. I got a new phone recently. I kept really good. It's an iPhone 16, I think. My old phone was an iPhone SE, and I took really good care of it. I'm very, very careful about the things that I own. And, you know, I didn't drop it. I didn't chuck it around. I didn't get it wet. I didn't have any scratches or cracks or anything like that. It just started self-imploding. You'd plug it in and it just wouldn't fucking charge, you know? These things aren't built to last. They're fucking cheap shit. It doesn't matter how well you take care of something. It'll just self-destruct. And then the whole process of buying a new phone was fucking annoying. I mean, I swapped it over and everything, and it ended up fine, but, you know, there's no headphone jack anymore. Setting up an eSIM was painful. It was a really painful experience. It was very annoying, actually. There's no home button anymore. So, closing apps and swiping down to access the flashlight and the portrait lock and stuff like that is all of a sudden harder. It's harder than it used to be. And Because technology is not making our lives any easier at this point. I think we sort of plateaued around 2012, and it's just getting worse. Not only is it not making our lives easier, but it's expensive and often necessary to indulge in these things. Are you just not going to have a smartphone in 2026? You can't really go through your life like that. You can't really disconnect. Everything is centered around the internet. And even the internet sucks. It sucks now. It's full of censorship. Lots of websites are so ideologically captured. Like Reddit, for example. I like the concept of Reddit. I think it's nice to have one big site, and anybody can create their little own sub-forums and moderate them to as great an extent or as little of an extent as they want. And, you come up with the rules. I like it. If forums are going to die out, I think the structure and system of Reddit is a good alternative to forums. But the trouble is the user base. The user base is just full of the most... I hate to say NPC, but man, they really are just NPCs. They're just they're just like a hive mind. They just blindly follow upvotes, and they blindly follow just like leftist rhetoric. And if you disagree with a Redditor, they'll just downvote you into oblivion, and it's kind of funny, but at the same time it is annoying, because where else am I supposed to go to? The best part about the internet was anonymity. I loved anonymity. I loved that you could just go on the internet and say whatever the fuck you wanted to say. Because you're behind a screen, there's no real risk, there's no... none of the intricacies that you have with person-to-person, in-person contact. None of those intricacies exist. It's over the internet. It's words on a fucking screen. And you can just block somebody or fucking ignore them if you don't like what they have to say. You can just be an anonymous asshole saying and doing whatever the fuck you want. And I liked that. It was a place to be free. But you can't really get that anymore. You can't even say retard on most sites without you being censored. And retard is one of the softer slurs. Can't say faggot. Can't say nigger. Can't say... I'm pretty sure you can say cunt. But wetback, gook, zipperhead, chink, I don't know. You can't really say slurs. I'm trying to think of a few sites. I just keep going back to the same old sites over and over again. I watch YouTube videos. There's some good YouTube videos out there. YouTube does not struggle with censorship quite as badly as something like Reddit. Blue Sky is awful. It's so awful that even the lefties don't want to be there. Twitter... I kind of like Twitter because there are actually some dissenting opinions on there. You have some, legitimate Nazis, like the legitimate white supremacists, and you have right-wing people. You have people from all sorts of backgrounds and with all sorts of beliefs and whatnot. I like Twitter. I think Twitter's all right. I think Kiwi Farms is great, but it's quite locked down. I have an account there, but 4chan is okay. 4chan, I've never been a big fan of the whole structure of the site. The whole image bulletin board thing, I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan of it. But I just find myself going back to the same old sites over and over again. And I'm not getting any enjoyment out of it. But I keep going back. Because I like the internet. And I'm still clinging on to this this hope that one day, the internet will be a no holds barred playground for anybody. But I don't think that's going to come. I don't think that's going to happen. Technology, the internet has gotten so corporatized. Everything's owned by the same few companies. And it's just really depressing. It's just very depressing. I can't think of any reason why I would want to live in 2026 as opposed to any year prior to 2020, really. I wasn't a big fan of 2019 when it happened, but I would take 2019 over this any fucking day of the week. I think that's one thing that everybody, regardless of your beliefs or political affiliations or whatnot, I don't care who you are, you can probably agree that from 2020 up until now, things have been pretty fucking dire. Things have been pretty fucking bad. And they haven't been this bad in a long time, I think we're looking... my perspective is a little bit skewed because I am Canadian, and Canada is a shithole. It is worse than America. It is worse than Europe. It's probably the worst G7 country. Canada fucking... It's so bad. It's so bad. I could go on a whole nother ramble about how much I hate Canada. I was looking at the polling data from today, and Mark Carney still has a giant lead. That's not to say that I'm in favor of Pierre Poilievre. I think he's a retard, but how can you look at the past decade of liberal leadership and just go, yes, please, I'd like more of that? When mass immigration has ruined the culture of Canada, it's ruined the job market, especially for youths. It makes me really sad. I try to think about the stuff that I do actually like about 2026, and I end up circling back to sports. I like sports. I think sports are good in 2026. I am a big NFL fan. The NFL is always entertaining. Even though it's only mock draft season right now, and even though this draft kind of sucks, there's not much blue chip talent. There's not much blue chip talent in this draft. It doesn't fucking matter. It's still entertaining. It's still nice. Does that mean I would... Is that... If you gave me a time machine, I'd still go back to 2012, because the NFL was still good in 2012. It's probably a little bit better, to be honest. But dude, it's just bad. It's just bad out there. There's just not a lot to be hopeful for. Sometimes people in my life criticize me for having a really bleak outlook on life and being a bit of a nihilist, but I just don't understand how you couldn't be a nihilist, or at least a little bit pessimistic, when you look at the current landscape of things. I don't think anybody's winning. I don't think anybody's happy. I think we're all just at each other. I can't even speak words. Can't speak words. At each other's throats. All the time. I don't know why I'm recording this. I'm probably going to listen back to it and then just upload it. If you've listened to all of this, you might be the only person to listen to all of this, so I'd like you to leave a comment. I'd like some engagement maybe. But that's kind of it. That's kind of all I have to say. I don't really have much to say about any particular topic, but